Hello, beautiful being, and welcome back to the Belief Course. I am Katie J, founder and creator of Breathwork House, and today we're diving into step 4 of how to change your limiting beliefs into expansive ones that allow you to manifest your desires with more grace and ease. Let's go ahead and dive in today. Step 4 is regulate. It is the fourth R of reprogramming your subconscious mind so that you can adopt these new beliefs and be a vibrational match to your beliefs coming in. Because remember, let's recap. If you believe that everything in this universe is conspiring to work with you and wants to delight and surprise you and wants to fulfill all of your desires, then that will be your experience in this lifetime. If you believe that those types of things don't work for you and that, you have to work hard, sacrifice, what have you, in order to receive your desires, that will be your experience in this lifetime. So it doesn't matter what you believe, but regardless, the universe is going to show that back to you. It's going to reflect that back to you because it's a vibrational universe that simply reflects what's going on inside of you back to you, because you are the universe folding in on itself so that it can experience itself. I digress. Let's dive back in. Step 4, regulate. Why is nervous system regulation important for changing beliefs? Because you can't integrate a new belief when you are living in survival mode, when you are constantly stressed, when you are constantly worried, when you're worried about whether or not you can pay your bills, right? That is not the time to integrate a new belief. You want to come out of that worry, come out of that fear, come out of those limiting beliefs before you try to integrate a new belief. So let's talk about ways that you can regulate your nervous system. The first thing that I wrote on here is prioritize your peace, right? Remember that there's nothing more important than you feeling good. That doesn't mean that there will be times, that doesn't mean there won't be times where you feel bad. There will be times where you feel bad. There will be times where you don't feel great. You're under the weather. You're, bloated or cramping, or you are just not having a great day, or you're depressed or whatever, right? I understand those things are going to happen. And the point of what we're talking about here today isn't to say those things can't happen and reject those parts of our lives and push them into the shadows. Instead, it's saying, how can I practice self-care, love on myself, and prioritize my peace so that the amount of time that I spend in that place, in that low vibrational place, is limited. Instead of being there for years or for months or for weeks, maybe you're only there for a few days or a few hours or even a few minutes, the more that you learn how to regulate your nervous system. So it's not that the dips won't happen, you'll still have dips, but we're just shortening the amount of time that you experience the dips, and you can come back into feeling peaceful, abundant, vibrant, loving, etc. So one way to regulate your nervous system is to start, or not one way, I would say start by regulating your triggers, or rather tracking your triggers, which is what we're going to talk about in our homework, what you're going to do in your homework. These are your growth edge. I used to be so triggered about things related to my dog. If somebody said something rude about my dog or insulted my dog in some way or made me feel unwelcome with my dog, then or that my dog was unwelcome in a place, what have you, I would get triggered. I would notice heat building up in my body. I would notice tightness around my neck, and I would get tunnel vision and not be able to even really like say anything or do anything. I would almost go into freeze mode, a combination between like freeze and fight, right? Like I was ready to mama bear all over somebody who insulted my dog or whatever. So I used to get really triggered around my dog. So that would be an example of something that you're going to do in your homework. We'll talk about that in a minute. So here are the practices that I use mostly when it comes to regulating my nervous system. Of course, journaling helps, coaching helps, therapy helps, all of these other things help, but these are the things that I use the most: meditation, breath work, TRE, and nature time. So meditation helps increase your awareness of your triggers and limiting beliefs, which allows you to regulate more effectively. If you're not even aware that you're being triggered because you don't have a connection to your body, you're not dropped into your body, you don't know how to slow down enough to feel the subtle parts of your body and your energy field, which meditation helps you to do. If you're not aware of that, it's going to be really hard to track your triggers. It's going to be really hard to regulate your nervous system if you don't even know what it feels like in your body to be triggered. So meditation helps you to have more awareness in the body. And it also brings you back to the present moment, which allows you to be in the vibration of infinite possibility. Because if you're meditating, the goal of meditation is to bring your mind to a single focus. Inevitably, it's going to wander, right? We all know that. It's going to wander, it's going to wander, it's going to wander. I sit down for 30 minutes every day. It's been like 85 days of me doing this. Every single morning, all I do is bring my mind back to my mantra, back to my mantra, back to my mantra. And sometimes I go off on these crazy tangents and start thinking about my business or what I'm going to eat that day or a conversation. And then I come back to my mantra, right? So that mantra is a vehicle for bringing you into the present moment, which allows you to be in the vibration of infinite possibility where you're not focused on the past or the future. You're right here in the present where you can actually influence the future. You can actually create a new future by being in the present moment, because it's in this now that anything can happen. We've talked about that. What about TRE? TRE is a practice that reminds the body how to release stress and trauma and tension through neurogenic trimmering. TRE stands for Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises. It was founded by a man named Dr. David Berceli, who's a bioenergetic therapist and a PhD clinical social worker. He and the people that he has trained have spread TRE to all 7 continents and in over 200 countries. Like, this isn't something that's small by any means, even though a lot of people in our circles are just now learning about it. I got certified in TRE in 2021 and then finished that up in 2022. And I've been holding space for it inside of my containers ever since then. So what is it? Basically, Dr. David Berceli studied trauma. And so he went into war zones to study how trauma interacts with our bodies. And what he observed was that when there was a threat, when there was a bombing, an attack, some sort of threatening situation in a community, he noticed that what would happen is that everybody, the children, the adults, everybody would contract. They would tighten their core muscles. They would curl in, protect their vital organs. And just imagine if I were to run at you with a bat, that would be exactly what your body would do too. It would contract. That is part of the stress response. That's part of the trauma response. When there's a threat to us, we contract. He then noticed that once the threat was gone, the children in the room, the children in the community would shake. Their bodies would visibly shake out that contraction, whereas the adults in the space would not. They would maintain that contraction. They would never allow their bodies to shake it out. So he basically theorized that we are genetically encoded to release stress and trauma through our bodies through this shaking mechanism that he calls neurogenic tremors. But as adults, we've been socialized out of this natural healing mechanism within our body, because think about it. If you walk down the street and you see someone just shaking, you're going to think they're having a seizure, they're on drugs, they're sick, there's something wrong. So we don't allow our bodies to actually shake out the stress and the trauma that's in that contraction. We maintain the contraction, and actually that's what ends up creating the trauma. That's what ends up creating the stress, is that we don't allow that shake. So TRE is a set of 7 very specific exercises that's meant to guide the body into that neurogenic tremor, into shaking out the stress, the trauma, the tension that we hold from those stressful situations at work, at home, in the past, ancestrally, etc. So that's why it's such a powerful exercise, a powerful practice for regulating your nervous system, because it brings you back to that place of calm and peace and restoration, because your body can release that stress that's trapped in the fascial tissues and muscles. Breath work. Yep, breath work. Whoop, whoop. And by the way, inside of Breathwork House, there's so much more than just breath work, right? It's meditation. We do TRE. There's obviously moon circles. So just throwing that out there, that breathwork is a big part of it. And breathwork is actually interwoven into TRE and into meditation and into our circles. And that's why it's called Breathwork House. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that we do offer TRE inside of Breathwork House. We do offer meditation inside of Breathwork House. So breathwork is a somatic practice. Remember, somatic means related to the body. You're using the body, you're using the breath to move prana, life force energy, breath, right? Prana is think about it as like the essence of life. We cannot, it's in other words, breath, right? We can only hold our breath for so long. You can only exist on this planet without prana for so long. And so when you move, and so it's like the magical substance that brings life into our bodies. So when you intentionally move the breath through the body, you are cycling it through your chakra system, through your energy centers, along your spine, and that releases stuck energy, releases emotions, releases that trapped contraction that we talked about in TRE. So intentionally moving the breath also brings you back into the present moment, just like meditation, which allows you to be in the vibration of infinite possibility. Like I said, it's during breath work that I tend to, like, yes, my nervous system is getting regulated, but it's also where I download tons of business ideas, where I get inspired action steps, where I download clarity about what to do next or what not to do next, or where to hold and when to go. And I mean, breath work, because you're in the present moment, you are connected to the realm of infinite possibilities, all possible quantum existences that can be right now, you tap into when you're in the present moment through breath work. So often people tell me breath work gets me to where I thought meditation would. And I agree. It gets you into the present moment where it basically stops the flow of blood and energy to the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the monkey brain, which is responsible for that worry and that fear and that anxiety. And so when you stop that flow to that prefrontal cortex and bring it into the body and through the chakra system, you are able to separate from that fear and that anxiety and that stress and come back into the present moment where the truth is you have access to anything, you can have whatever, anything can happen. That's what the present moment is all about. Both breathwork and TRE put the body into a slightly stressed state. Now, it depends on what style of breathwork that you are doing, but I'm referring to the style of breathwork that I lead in the breathwork journeys that I guide with my seasonal circle clients on a weekly basis and that I guide at the end of the month for community breathwork. So both breathwork and TRE put the body into a slightly stressed state, but you are in an environment where you consciously feel safe. So your home, a studio with other people, what have you, you have your spiritual support animal nearby, you have your bed, you're comfortable, right? So when you put the body into a slightly stressed state, but when it's consciously very safe, that allows it to heal. That allows it to go into stress mode and come out of it, because stress isn't bad. That's why I don't like to use the words bad and good, because stress isn't necessarily bad. Traumatic events aren't necessarily bad. What is bad about a car accident is when that contraction gets stuck in your body and prevents you from being able to sleep at night because of night terrors, or it shows up in some other way in your movement or what have you. So that's when a situation, when we're in a situation that is stressful, like you're at work, it's bad or it's unhelpful or it's unhealthy stress if it's a stressful situation that is continuous and constant and you are in overdrive, you're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode because of your work, and you're going to that 5 days a week and you're living in that existence. That's when it's no longer healthy, right? Because you haven't gone into it and come out of it. And that's what breathwork and TRE teach the body how to do, is self-regulate, regulate itself, go into stress mode, say, whoa, this is stressful. I've got all these things on my plate. Release, it'll all get done. in perfect timing, right? And it teaches the body how to go into stress mode and come out of it instead of living there, which will compromise your nervous system. Being in stress mode all the time will compromise your digestive system, your reproductive system, your immune system. I mean, gut health, reproductive health, like all these things are, health, like being able to fight off bacteria and viruses. All of that is related to your nervous system. How well regulated you are will depend on how well those other systems function. Because think about it, if you're in survival mode, you are in, I gotta flee, I gotta fight, or I am in freeze mode, you don't need those other systems to be working. So your body is very intelligent and will take energy away from those systems working well and put it into keeping your nervous system active. And so that's why we need to release the stress, release the trauma, release the limiting beliefs, and regulate our nervous system so that we can come back to that baseline of feeling content, feeling at ease. And then finally, my favorite way to regulate my nervous system, something that has been a priority of mine for years now, is living close to nature, being in near as close to nature as possible. It's why I got my van, is so that I can live as comfortably close to nature as possible. Being near nature helps. I mean, I can't even fully explain all the ways that it does regulate your nervous system, but long story short, we're a part of nature, right? And being a part of nature, when you get back into that and you separate from your screen and the comparison and all that stuff, and you go out into nature, hormones release naturally on their own. You don't even have to do anything or think about it, right? Your brain, your body starts to release hormones that are associated with calm, joy, creativity, and concentration, all of which will help you to integrate a new belief. So let's talk about our homework, triggers and glimmers list. In my ease course, we go into this way more, but here is kind of a little way to dip your toe in and start to track your triggers so that once you're aware of your triggers, you've brought them from the unconscious into the conscious, you can do something about them, right? So first step here, grab your pen and paper and write out all of the things that trigger you, get them all out. Racism, sexism, people leaving the doors open, people chewing with their mouth open, whatever. I mean, some of those are like more like pet peeves, right? But the others could be like straight up triggers, like someone being rude to you, or maybe you receiving feedback triggers you a little bit. Get all of that on paper and then write out. Think about those triggers, and maybe you could do step 1 and 2 simultaneously, but think about those triggers and ask yourself, how is this trigger showing up in my body? How does it feel in my body? Where is it showing up in my body? Is it a thumping? Is it a tightening? Is it a twisting? Is it a weight? Is it a slumping? Like, how is it showing off in your body? Is it making your shoulders roll in? Is it making you go into tunnel vision where you can't say anything? What is actually showing up in your body? How is that trigger manifesting physiologically for you? Be as specific as you can. And then step 3, write out 10 ways, and more if you would like to, but 10 ways that you soothe that trigger once you notice it. So write out 5 ways that you can do solo by yourself and 5 ways that you can do with someone else. So for example, if you notice a trigger, maybe you take 3 or 5 deep, conscious breaths. Or maybe you go to your journaling practice and you dump out all the feelings that are coming up from that trigger. Those are things you can do on your own, whereas things you can do with other people, you can send your coach a Voxer message about the trigger, or maybe it's a massage that helps you to get out of it. There's so many different ways to regulate this. And some of them we talked about today, right? Go out into nature, do a TRE class, do a breathwork class, meditate. Maybe don't meditate while you're in the trigger unless that works for you, but write out 5 ways that you found that work for you. And I will see you in the next video to talk more about how you can change your limiting beliefs into expansive ones that allow you to manifest with grace and ease. In our next video, we will talk about step 5, which is repetition, repeating the new belief until the day it integrates. or you die. See you in the next video. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.